Hello, my creative friends. Jessica Sanders here of colormecreativeart.com. Welcome to my channel. Today, let's explore Qor watercolors. So, a really cool thing. I know the Qor watercolors have been out for a little while, but I didn't have any. I've only started sort of collecting watercolors fairly recently. So I have the Jane Davenport watercolors and I have Mission Gold watercolors. I have a little bit of Daniel Smith, but I really wanted to try Qor. And so I wrote to Golden and, well, actually I wrote to Qor, who's owned by Golden. Golden produces Qor watercolors. And I wrote to them and I didn't get an email response. But then a few days later in the mail, I got this envelope from Golden. I was so excited. And guess what was in it? You guessed it already. Qor watercolor sample pack. So I thought that was fantastic. I was really excited. So I wanted to try them out with you. So it has this really nice little cover. It comes with a watercolor sheet, a little paper because these are slightly sticky, and little dot samples with all of the information about the paints. Now, the thing that's different about Qor from some other watercolors is they have a different binder. It's called xoxo, and it's actually been, from what I understand, used for a long time to restore paintings, but now Golden or Qor has taken it to create paintings. Let's get started and try out these colors. I haven't touched it. As you can see, there's no movement. So what I'm going to do is just sort of create some swatches here on this card to mirror, and it'll be my swatch card for these paints. So first I have Diarylide, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Diarylide Yellow. Okay, first thing I noticed, that wet super easy. You could see that, like I haven't wet these at all, pre-wet them. Look at that. And let's just make a swatch here at the top. Wow, look at that color. It's really pretty, really pigmented. And now I'm just going to use a clean brush to add a little bit of water so I can see it move a little. And I'm just going to continue around. Oh, they wet so easily. It's hard to believe. Super easy to wet. My Jane Davenport don't wet quite as easily as this. This is Pyrrole Red Medium. Pick up a little bit more pigment. Look at that. That is so pretty. I love it. Add a little water here. Wow, that just jumped across. Okay, Transparent Red Oxide, which looks like a sienna color to me, a burnt sienna, but that's just my interpretation of this. Let's see. Wow, this is really rich in color. That's one thing they say about this. You get like really vibrant colors and not a lot of color shift with these paints. Now, this is my first experiment with it, so I can't say for sure, but that's just what Golden, or it's just what Qor says. I want to call it Golden because I'm more familiar with their acrylics and I'm used to saying Golden. Look at that. So this looks a little bit opaque, and it is. See the little mark here? I don't know if you can see that little mark. It shows that it's opaque here, even on my dot card. So there we go. I think I mentioned that I was planning on swatching these. And then after swatching, we'll do a little bit of just playing around with them, sort of like I do, you know, when I get an art box or something like that. Just play around with it and see how they behave and see what they do. Maybe paint a mini galaxy. Maybe not. I don't know. Look at that. That's a nice, this is Chromium Oxide Green. It's a really, I don't know, it feels like an earthy green to me. I like it. I like it. Now this one didn't wet quite as easily as, say, the yellow. I noticed. This is Ultramarine Blue. We'll put it here at the bottom. Seems like this granulates a little bit here. I think I see some granulation in there. A little bit of texture. Oh, I wet that a lot. There we go. And cobalt violet. Yes, it looks so pretty just on the card. Now, I can tell immediately this one does not wet as easily as any of the others. I'm having to work at a little bit more, but that's not a big deal. I'm just, observing the properties of the paint. So I'm having to work at that a little bit more to get that moving. Nothing wrong with that. Like I said, some paints and pigments work differently than others. In fact, it seems like they all work differently than others, so it really depends on individual colors and everything. So let's try it. Now this is really light. I also see some granulation with this. Definitely great. I even see the granulation here on this swatch card. So let's see. There we go. It's a really light color compared to some of the depth of the other ones. Definitely, and it doesn't move as much. So interesting. I'm going to put more pigment there and see how that happens. There we go. Now it's moving. Maybe I just didn't have it touching. It just like jumps. It just jumped. I don't know if you noticed that, but several of these colors just jumped straight out into the water. I have a little bit more. Okay, there we go. But that one doesn't seem to move quite as much, and it's quite granulating. Let's see if you can see the particles. I'll hold this up so you can see a little closer. So see the particles forming in there. The blue has some also. Actually, this red oxide, transparent red oxide, also has quite a bit of granulation in there. So we'll see how that dries. I'll bring that back in a minute and we'll see how that dries. In the meantime, let me move things over a little. So I have some watercolor paper here. This watercolor is the Strathmore Vision watercolor paper. It's 140 pound. I've cut it out. I've taken it out and cut a smaller piece for purposes of this. Now let's play. Okay, I'm going to get this lovely yellow. It's just looks like buttercup, and just put it there. Look at that. Now I'm going to put, I think what I'll do is I'll do some drops of water on my page. Okay, that way I can get some unexpected results. Look, so if I just add water, watch, let's see. That color just like flows straight into it. Wow, that's beautiful. Drop in more color. And I'm just going to play around with some mixing now. Some pyrrole red. So if you invite that to flow, watch this. Invite to flow. Look at that. It just jumps out into the water. That is super cool. It does have granulation also. I see it granulating on the paper. Drop in more pigment here. Now it's flowing into that yellow. Do they mix very well? It looks like these colors don't mix as much as they mingle. So what I mean by that is they're not blending together. So you're going to get a variegated kind of wash there. Okay, so I've got this red. Let me see, I'll drop in a little bit more of the red there, just so we can get a good idea of how it looks pigmented. Let's do some of this violet. The pigment completely granulated here in the water for this cobalt violet. Let's put it here. It's a really soft color compared to the others, and my little swatch is almost already completely gone, but look how pretty that is. I mean, that's really pretty. Now let's see what happens if we invite that to flow. It doesn't flow quite as much as that red. Yeah, it just doesn't flow as much. It's there a little bit more. which is fine. It's just good to know how that works. Now let's do some blue right here next to this red and next to the cobalt violet. Wonder how that looks mixed. I am intentionally mixing that. Do you see that? So this is taking that and putting it together. And I just had a little bit of that blue, so with a lot of water. Now what happens, let's see, I'm gonna drop some more. Grab some more of this blue, add some intense blue there. Now let's see what happens if I invite that to flow. Oh, let's see if it jumps out. It does. It flows really well there. And let me put a little bit over by this yellow that's still wet so we can see if we get like a green. Pick up a little more yellow there. We'll see what happens there. It may turn green, it may stay, again, that variegated wash as opposed to actually mixing. Do you notice, see these two colors running along beside each other? It looks really cool. But obviously it's not blending and mixing together and melding together on the board. Okay, let's do green next to this blue right here. Let's see what happens. Now what happens if I invite this to flow? It just whooshes. It does. Angela Fair says it has a whoosh effect. She's right. It just whooshes out straight in. Let's connect those and just see what happens. I mean, we're mixing three colors. We're going to get maybe a muddy mess. But it looks like they're staying separate. So really interesting to me anyway. I hope it's interesting to you how they're not really blending. The colors aren't blending together, but they have separate. They're staying separate within that water. And this is quite a big puddle here. You can see this nice granulation with this green. Again, it's an opaque kind of green. Looks cool. Looks very cool. Now I have not done the transparent red oxide, so I will put that here. Nice color. It's a nice color. Nice orangey color. And let me go ahead and grab some more of the diarrhea yellow, and I will put those next to each other and connect them there with that blue. And let's see if we get that whoosh effect. Go back to the transparent oxide. See if we get that whoosh effect when we invite it to flow. Look, it just quickly like flows into the water. Watch. Whoosh. Cool. I'm just sort of observing what it looks like now. My paper's a little bit bubbly, bubbled up, but let me just see how this looks. So I noticed after time in this area, this is the yellow, the red, and the blue mixed slightly. So I'm not sure if you can see. So in this corner, I ended up with some orange from the red, yellow, and blue mixing. There's not a lot of blue. It's mostly yellow and red. And it has a little bit of the green also. So I don't know if you can see this, the streaks of paint, the streaks of color here and here. It's a really nice effect. Their colors are not blending together. So they're just next to each other. It's really interesting. See, same thing here with this red and blue. They're not really mixing. Now they did in the other corner. Zoom out a little bit again. So they did mix here to create this color, but you can see the red and the blue here did not mix to create purple, which is fine. But if you want colors and watercolor that blend together on the paper without you making them blend, so to speak, then these may not be the watercolors for you. They have that beautiful whoosh effect. I think I will grab a little piece of paper here. This little strip will work. I know, I keep strips. It's kind of crazy. I'm going to put water here all the way down this strip. A puddle. Making a puddle. It's about 3/4 of the way down the strip. Excuse my cat's fur. So you can see. There we go. And now I'm going to paint this end and let it meet up. Now, what color would you like to see? I saw the yellow go whoosh already. Which color would you like? I mean, you know, the red looks fantastic. So how about we do the red? Does that sound good to you? And what I'm going to do is paint a nice heavy strip of color. If you've taken my Skillshare class about how much water to use, this is a too much water effect. And there's nothing wrong with having too much water if that's what you're going for and you know how it will behave. So now what I'm going to do is connect these with the water. That's whoosh now. That's whoosh. This is even like slightly already bowed up a little bit. So it's actually like bowed up in the middle. Look how far down. The water goes all the way to here. Look how far down that pigment ran all on its own. Like I didn't coax it down there. I just went, you saw it. It goes whoosh. It's still flowing over this way. So I can't resist. How about we add some blue to our little strip here on the opposite end. This time I'm going to drop it in the water, so like a wet and wet technique. Here we go. Are you ready? Boom. Guess what? That blue does not whoosh as much as that red. Let's just double check that. I'll drop some red right here. See, that's just moving quite a bit faster than that blue. And if you notice, again, they're sitting next to one another, not automatically becoming purple. It's important to learn what your watercolors do, whether you're using Qor or Mission Gold or Daniel Smith or Jane Davenport or Prima or any of those. Just play with your watercolors and learn how they behave. And every color, as you notice, 2 different colors behave slightly differently, and you will learn over time by practice what colors do what. So you don't get so like shocked. Oh no, I put that color and it took over my whole painting. No, you'll know that certain colors do certain things. And I don't want to tell you to control your watercolor because I love the fluidity and the experience of the uncontrolled effects of watercolor. But knowing how they behave will take you so far in your painting skills. So just practicing, just doing what I just did on this page, I know it's just a mess, right? It's just a mess, but it's an important mess because I saw how 6 different Qor watercolors behaved individually and how they worked together. So it's an important thing to practice with your watercolors or your acrylic paints or whatever to learn their behavior, but especially with watercolor because individual pigments and paints and colors act their own special way. It's like every person is an individual, every person is unique. Well, it's sort of that way with all the colors of watercolor and even with all the different brands. So I encourage you to get out your watercolors and just experiment and play with them, whatever brand they are. And I would love to hear more about your experiences. Do you have Qor watercolors? This is my first experience with them. Look, they do dry really brilliantly. The color is drying very brilliantly here. It's not completely dry, but this blue is practically dry, and this yellow, and look how nice those colors dried. They're not a lot lighter than they were, so there's not that color shift, so that's interesting to me. See the granulation in these? But this is my first experience with Qor watercolor. And I don't know if I'll buy these or not. I mean, I might. Maybe individual tubes. Like, I love that yellow. That's really pretty. And look at this violet with that nice granulation. So it's all a matter of trying out your brand and your kind and seeing what you like. I have other brands that I've been using and learning more and more about all the time. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, please give me that thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of my videos, and click that bell, because if you don't, you won't know when I upload a video. It'll just be random who you find out. So, oh, I do just want to say a big thank you to Golden for sending these to me. It was very generous of them, and I really appreciate it, and I really enjoyed trying out Qor watercolors. All right, thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.